Okay, I think we can go ahead and start. So welcome everyone, wherever you're joining in the world. My name is Pascal. I'm going to be moderating this webinar today. I am going to introduce my colleagues in the next slide. Today we're going to be talking about sales compensation. So hopefully everyone here is excited about this topic. I'm definitely excited. It's one of the latest capability that we've launched last year. And I feel like we haven't talked about it enough. So this is why we're doing this webinar. We're here to talk about the product itself, what it does, but also how it can help you connect pricing to sales. And so I'm very excited to have my colleagues, Jose and Peter, and they're going to introduce themselves right now. So Jose, do you want to start?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Jose Paez. I'm part of the solution strategy team here at Pricefx. I've been with the company for about 2.5 years. I have a long history of pricing experience, and I'm going to be showing you some of the capabilities around sales compensation in Pricefx later on.
And Peter.
Hello everyone, my name is Peter Is and I'm with Pricefx for 5 years now. I originally started in our customer solutions, working directly with our customers during their implementation projects. And now I'm actually trying to utilize that experience inside our product team where sales compensation is one of my focus areas.
And I'm Pascal. As I mentioned, I'm in the product marketing team. So I help customers and partners understand our product a bit better. And I help with any type of communication that is going out externally. And so I just want to share a couple of housekeeping items before we start. So everyone is on mute, just in case. But if you have any question, you can add them to the chat box on the right, you could see. And there's also a Q&A. And so the Q&A is more anonymous and the chat, everybody can see. So it's up to you where you want to ask your question. We'll be checking both of them just in case. And I'd love for this session to be as interactive as possible. So if I see a question, I'll probably stop and take that question and ask it to either Jose or Peter. So feel free to ask any question that is related to the topic. And obviously, recording will be sent, so don't worry about that. Cool. So the agenda for today, we are going to start talking a little bit about the connection between pricing and sales and why that's important and why we should be talking about this more. Then we are actually going to just get into it and talk about the product itself, sales compensation, how it works, what it does, who is it for, and what are the features. And then we're actually going to do a short demo. So Jose is going to take us on Pricefx, and you'll see what it looks like in the application. And we'll conclude and have a couple more questions. Awesome. So before we do that, I'd like to ask everyone a question. There's a poll that's going to be popping up. So give me a second. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. Are you guys able to see a poll? If you could tell me on the right on the chat if this is something that you can see. Because maybe now. That is something that first time we do that, so it isn't something that we've done before. So I'm excited to see the results. I'll give you a minute. It's kind of look like what you see here on the screen. It's just an example. The question is, how good are your margins? But actually, it's just an example. Okay, I can see some questions coming in. That's great. Some answers, sorry. So I'll give you another 1 or 2 minutes. Yeah, super. You guys see it? Okay. Give you a bit more time. I can see it changing as as we go. So it seems like a few of you are still replying. All right. I think we're good. Yeah, so from the results, you should be able to see those actually, but majority of you, 50% of you say that they are not aligned, 25% of you say they're very aligned, and 25% of you say they're somewhat aligned. And so I'm excited to be here today because I think we can help you. Those 50% of you that say you're not aligned, I'm hoping that this is going to be helping you do that. So sales compensation is here to help you align your sales and your pricing team. So maybe Jose, you can go to the next slide, because here we want to start talking a little bit about why we think it's important to connect these two teams. So Jose, maybe you're coming from a customer's perspective, so you've talked to customers before, especially in the pricing field, but you've also have some connection with salespeople. So maybe you could share with us a little bit why you think these two functions should work closely together and should be more aligned.
Certainly, yeah. So pricing and sales are definitely two of the most important teams within any organization. And pricing, for the most part, is going to be responsible for identifying areas of opportunity in the market, being able to see where it is possible to push the price envelope for different products and services. How do we capture as much value as possible using those strategies? But as a former chief strategy officer that I used to work for many years ago, they used to say sales comes first. And at the end of the day, sales is the arm of organizations that will execute those strategies. So it is imperative, really, to have these two teams, two functions connect and talk to each other and really understand from the sales side, really understand why these strategies are set up a certain way, what is the value that we're trying to capture in the market through these pricing strategies, how do we compare across different competitors in the market, what our customers are buying or they're not buying, what are the trends that we can leverage. And then the sales team has to communicate back to the pricing organization whether or not those strategies are working, what are the challenges that they face. So that connectivity, that communication between these two functions is very important. And sometimes organizations will have this communication in terms of just people talking to each other, but their processes and their systems and the execution of those processes is not linked. So that's where sales compensation within Pricefx tries to breach that gap and allow these teams to better collaborate and understand how these strategies are set up and how these strategies are being executed. And we know that compensation or the sales compensation, that metric, it's a key driver for a sales rep. So we're going to talk about some examples later on about how Pricefx brings that to the table in a very visible way.
Yeah, and on that note, I think what you just mentioned. Obviously, compensation is a key driver for salespeople. We all know that. There's no secret to that. But what is interesting, and this is a figure that is coming from a Gartner research on sales performance management tools. What's interesting is that only 24% of sellers can easily calculate their compensation and have visibility on their compensation at all. So, this kind of contradicts the whole point of compensation. We're saying that it is a key driver, it's something that makes them excited or motivated to work harder. But at the same time, we're not showing them what's their compensation. And so that's exactly what we're trying to do with this capability. So, what if we could make commissions visible to sellers in real time? And that is the most powerful part of our capability and what it does. And I think Jose, you'd be able to talk a bit about that,
Yeah,
and why
and
you think this is something important to make visible to salespeople.
yeah, in many of the interactions that I have with different customers, one of the key themes that keep repeating over and over is the theme of visibility and having access to data in a reliable way, easy to understand data. So we're not talking about being able to access a big database with a lot of information, but bringing key metrics and bringing key information so that the person that's building the quote or setting up the pricing strategies or running through some analytics can easily interpret that data and be able to take an action. So it's more about calling to action type of analytics or visibility into the data rather than just reporting the weather, right? So what
Mhm.
we're trying to do is this profitable growth, drive that profitable growth in the organization. And in this case, when we talk about sales compensation, we're really talking about is having the visibility of how individual actions within a quote, how individual actions within a deal with a customer will have an impact, not just in terms of the organization, what is going to be the margin for the organization. All of that information is good. But me as a seller, as part of the sales organization, how much am I actually helping the organization capture the value of the products and services that we're bringing to the table? And so I think that the if we are able to bring that information to the forefront, it's important. It's very critical, and it's a lot of value. Being able to do that in real time, we're going to share an example of what that looks like within Pricefx, is what sets it apart. Is what
Yeah.
allows this organization to be more effective and more dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're exactly right. This is something that we're hearing a lot from our customers, that they're seeing that sellers need that extra push, just because it's great to have a pricing guidance, but when you don't see how it impacts your personal compensation, then you're less likely to use it. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a good solution for that. And so, Peter, I actually wanted to direct this one to you because you're the product owner, you're in the product team, and so you obviously work on a lot of these products that we see here on the screen. Not all of them, but some of them. And it would be great if you can kind of tell us a bit how
Yeah.
sales compensation fits into this price waterfall.
Yeah, sure, sure. So, of course, we are
Mm.
all familiar with the price waterfall here, right? But what I really like about this slide is how it actually shows the holistic approach we have here in Pricefx to the waterfall. So, we start by building up the price in price lists, go over applying discounts both on and off the invoice, so by creating quotes or rebates, right? And then by actually adding sales compensation into the mix, we can measure the real gross profit or a pocket margin, right? So one of the advantages is that the system already has all the necessary data related to your company, like customers, products, prices, and transactions, right? So by adding the data about the sellers, we can connect all the dots and you can have the better visibility on your final profit.
Yeah.
One key aspect of this, and I think we're gonna be able to see it within the demo, is the tendency of salespeople, salespersons, or the sales organization. Sometimes it's just a race to the bottom, make the sale, provide a discount, but having visibility of how a price for a product within a quote or how a service is being quoted to a customer compared to what other customers are doing, that sales guidance is also very, very important. So it's not just about understanding the impact of the commission for the salesperson, but also what else can we do, or what else can the sales team do to improve the value of the deal to the customer?
And in this, I also think this is an important one for everyone in the audience. And there's there might be people from sales backgrounds, some people from pricing, some people from finance. So I think it would be quite good to sort of talk about who are the key stakeholders for this specific capability. And I think, Peter, you're the best place to answer that. Could you tell us a bit more who they are?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we've already covered what we are trying to like or looking for to provide, but yeah, with that said, let me kind of break it down into the three roles. We acknowledge basically three roles for sales compensation, and let me look into each of them individually a bit, right? So the first one is already covered sales agents, and as Jose already stressed enough, having the sights on your goals as an agent tremendously helps with being able to achieve those goals, right? So when as a sales agent, you can see and check the impact directly on the quote you are just now working on, visible in there, you know, that's just invaluable, and you can see the impact that it has to your own compensation, right? And you can own it at that point. So yeah, that sets the right expectations and helps to drive the correct, not correct, but the good behavior of the sales agent, right? But we also go beyond just that, right? So we provide tools for agents to also like track their progress on their targets with our dashboards, so they are never left wandering. Uh, and also, life isn't perfect, and not everything goes exactly as planned. So that's probably why the topic of disputes, or however you want to call it, comes up very often in my conversations with customers. So when life just happens and something isn't just right, the sales agent can easily file a dispute on their compensation, and such requests can be reviewed and settled by the administrator later. And that brings me to our second type of users. It can be your finance, your sales ops, or even your HR. It kind of depends on who is in charge of your compensation management, payouts, and so on. For simplicity, we call them just admins or super users. Having a tool to effectively handle disputes or other manual adjustments through a simple form in an easy and auditable way. That's just a fraction of their story and the functionality we provide for this group, and you're gonna see more of it later during the demo, right? But in Pricefx, we are already used to competing against Excels and other spreadsheets, and that's no different for sales compensation. So I've heard too many stories about how hard it is to manage the plans, how much time it takes to set up all the plans for a new year, or how everyone hopes nothing will really change during the year, so they would need to revise the plan. And not on top of that, how tedious it can be to dig up all the necessary data to provide a report to management or an audit, or just to answer a simple question of a sales agent. So that's why I believe that providing your admins with a tool which addresses these pain points just makes sense. We aim to make lives of our admins easier and reduce the time they need to spend by just managing, and instead we want them to be able to focus on and analyze the results, provide insights, and thus increase the overall effectiveness of sales compensation as a tool. And on the topic of effectiveness, I want to mention sales leaders. We already spoke about how the visibility on the compensation drives the better decisions of sales agents. It also helps the team's leaders to keep their teams effective and motivated. So for these users, we also provide different dashboards, so staying in touch with the day-to-day reality has never been easier. Using Pricefx, they can spot their star performance, use this data for sales compensation planning, or as hard evidence if they need to fight for their team or the budget.
Amazing. Thanks, Peter. Yeah, I think that's the most important part as well, is that the fact that they're all under the same platform. So this is all happening under Pricefx. So it's really one source of truth across departments. Everybody would have access to the information. It will be visible to everyone. I mean, to a certain extent, I think, Peter, that, for example, if a sales rep, the sales rep would only see information that is related to him and not to the rest of his team, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it gives you visibility, but not a lot of visibility, so that it's not giving away too much. But thanks, Peter, for sharing that. And Peter's going to talk to us a bit more about some of the features. But first, I just wanted to share those three key features on sales compensation. And so the first one, and I think we've talked about it enough, it is all about driving profitable sales efforts. This is about making commissions visible in real time. Jose is going to show you a couple of examples of how that works. The second feature is about managing sophisticated plans, complicated plans. Again, Peter just talked about that, but he'll show you what it means, what it is exactly, and what you can do on sales compensation plans. And the final one is handling adjustments. So it's all about changes that might be happening across the year or across the quarter, and how we can easily do that on Pricefx and kind of keep track of everything on one platform. So I'm actually going to stop talking right now, and I'm going to let the experts talk. Jose, if you can take it from here and share with us driving profitable sales efforts. What does that mean? How does that work on the platform? I know
Yeah,
you're going to
certainly.
do a demo, but we'll wait a little bit for the demo and we'll show them a couple of slides first.
Yeah, so we're going to see some examples in the platform in just a few minutes, but the idea is to kind of showcase that it's not just about bringing data to the forefront to the person that's building a quote or being able to set up these compensation plans or complex compensation plans very easily. It's about making it useful, making it accessible, making it relatable, but probably most important, making it actionable. So we're going to see an example about negotiation guidance, and I'm going to show an example of a quote where I'm setting up prices for a product, and I want to understand from that quote, what's the type of price that I should be shooting for? What is the data that I can use to better understand the type of customer that I'm dealing with, how this customer compares to other customers, and ultimately, when using that guidance by the system, how that guidance is going to allow me to leverage or get a better representation of the commission that I'm going to be getting. That's going to be one of the examples that we're going to see in just a few minutes. The second one has to do with product recommendation. And again, the idea here is that we want to arm the sales organization, not just the sellers, but also sales leaders, finance administrators with the tools so that they can provide this type of data, this type of recommendations very easily and much more actionable rather than publishing information in Excel files. So when we talk about, for example, product recommendation, how can I see what other customers that are in a similar segment or customers similar to the one that I'm quoting, what are the products that they're buying? Right? And what's the price that those customers are paying for those products? So having the visibility into that product recommendation right as I'm building a quote without having to go elsewhere within the system and try to run a report, but having access to that data right then and there, and how that product recommendation is going to have an impact on my commission, on my compensation, is what makes this approach much more actionable. So we're going to see that in just a couple of minutes. But I think we want to also talk about the way that Pricefx brings all of these into the table, and it is supported by basically three components. The first one is quoting, so the ability to set up these quotes in a very dynamic, very user-friendly way, supported by an optimization capability within Pricefx, which is the one that provides that sales guidance that helps the organization with opportunity detection. And one of the things that sets Pricefx apart is our transparent optimization capabilities. These are capabilities that are not locked behind a black box. These are capabilities that the salespeople will be able to understand and use as supporting evidence when they go back to their customer and say, "Hey, I know how much my customers are paying for this product. I know what position we have in the market, so I know that the price that we have is the correct price to offer in a particular deal." And as we've been talking about, being able to bring all of these along with sales compensation, combine these two very strong capabilities within Pricefx, quoting optimization, now adding the third in sales compensation, really provides a very strong suite of tools within Pricefx to support not just pricing, but also the sales organization. And last but definitely not least, the analytics, the ability to see what is happening in the market. So once we set up quotes, which quotes are working, which quotes are not working, the visibility into sales compensation, how much I as a seller have has accrued in a certain quarter, how much has been paid. Having visibility into that data really makes all of this much more actionable and accessible to not just the pricing director, not just the sales director, but to the people that are actually running, setting up those strategies and executing those strategies in quotes and deals with the customers. So, Peter, I think one thing that we're going to see you walk us through is a little bit more about the type of compensation plans that can be managed within Pricefx, the type of adjustments that can be managed within Pricefx. So I'll turn it over to
Yeah,
you for
exactly.
that.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jose. So now we are getting into the functionality we provide for our admins, which I already pitched a bit before. So Now I'm really talking to the guys and folks that manage compensation plan. First, let me mention that our solution is still like a quantitative compensation calculation. So we are not a sales performance management tool, and we do not provide things like territory management or incentive program design. So that's those are the things that are set up by you and are actually inputted into Pricefx. And then we then use these data like a quota and so on to create compensation plans using our compensation types, and then we calculate the payouts of these plans. So as an admin of sales compensation, you can create your plan. We have group and individual plans. You can define teams on the site, and then this team really shares the plan, or it can be an individual, and you assign either the individual or the team to the plan, and then you can set up basically your kinds of filters, right? If you want to set up the plan for a specific customer, specific product group, whatever have you. Plus, we have additional features like if you want to hold back some amount or the percentage of that plan to make sure for returns or whatever, right? And other features like that. We also pre-prepared the common compensation types, so you can simply use them out of the box. And it starts with like very simple ones like flat bonus, and we go to complex ones like multi-target bonuses based in seller salary, for example. Uh, but of course, this is Pricefx, so you can create your own types if needed on a project level, or just really own the solution as it's kind of usual and standard for Pricefx. Once you enter the parameters for your plan, the system will calculate your results, show you the forecast for your new period, and you can even see some inline charts so you can visualize those results. Finally, when everything is set up the way you want it, the plan goes through approval process. Again, that's standard for Pricefx. It utilizes the same workflow approval engine we have. And yeah, then that's done. Your plan is set up, and then depending on the payment period you've set, it all calculates your payouts, what should be paid out based on the transactional data, how it comes in, and that's it. You just sit back and relax and let your sellers profit. And now I think Jose, you can switch over to more of the analytics side of things, which I'm gonna cover next as well. Yeah, thanks. So more on the analytics side, and that's what I mentioned for all three roles. And Pascal, thanks for making sure that yes, we definitely like divide between the visibility, but everyone sees whatever they are supposed to see. So let me look a bit deeper into that one. So we provide 4 dashboards out of the box. Again, it's Pricefx, so it's very possible to define your own dashboards, or you can use our analytics capability to create your own charts for further analysis. But out of the box, we have these 4 dashboards. The first one, it's really targeted at admins, and it's really like very quick year-to-date summary, right? So the intention there is the administrator sits down, open this dashboard, and he knows where we are this year, how we are doing, and so on, right? Then the second dashboard we call payouts and plans, and it's a bit deeper dive into what's happening, right? So you can filter for specific plans or specific payout dates and so on. But again, basically the target is that you can see what's happening at each time, what has been paid out, what has been approved, so on. And admins and team leaders actually have visibility here, obviously on their team only. The next dashboard is what I pitched for sales agents to be able to track their progress. So we provide like very simple to use dashboard where a seller can just pop it up and they see, okay, this is how am I doing this year, right? This is how close I am to achieving my targets. This is what I got so far this year, and they can see the split between their plans if they are on multiple plans and so on. Obviously, this dashboard can also be used by team leaders, so they can see their team members as they see themselves and so on. And the next one, or the last one, is like very technical, and that's when you want to really deep dive, right? So let's say something is wrong, and you wanna ask for the dispute, or for some adjustment. You as a seller can go down into the very transactional level if you want to see what's going on, or you as an admin see something that seems a bit off, so you can go to the really deep down and check what's going on and potentially make it right through our adjustment system, which I believe, Jose, you're gonna cover next, right?
Here we go.
Yes, and the key piece here is simplifying this process and making the handling of adjustments and inquiries to the sales organization, to the sellers, something that they can do very easily. So being able to set up the type of adjustment, whether it's a split credit or changing the data. I'm going to show an example of what this looks like, because sometimes this can be a process that's very manual, very time intensive, hard to track and hard to resolve. So how can I do this in a solution where I can simply, very, very quickly say, here's the set of transactions, here's the set of sales or quotes where I was working with another sales agent and we're going to split the credit. Or a sales director knows that there's going to be a change in the data, a change in the compensation for a particular reason. This is very, very typical of most sales organizations, where even though compensation plans are set up, there's adjustments, there's changes that need to be managed. Need to be managed very, very effectively, but probably more important, very transparently, in a very transparent way. So we're going to see this and a few more examples within the solution. At the end of the day, what is going to be important is that not only I can create this request, but the organization is going to be able to review this request and act on them much more quickly. So being able to approve. So with that, I'm going to be jumping into the software and show you a couple of the things that we've been talking about in terms of sales compensation and sales guidance in a quote, how these compensation plans are set up in the system, an example of a dashboard as well. So I'm going to switch over here on my screen. So you're going to see a new window. And in this new window, I'm going to show an example of a quote. So we're going to start there. There we go. So hopefully, if Peter or Pascal can just
Yeah,
thumbs up
we,
that they
Yep.
can see the
Yep.
screen. Excellent.
yeah.
So we're in business. For anyone that hasn't seen Pricefx in the past, this is what Pricefx looks like. You can see that I have, in this case, a list of quotes. And in one of the previous screens, Peter was showing the full waterfall and all of the capabilities within Pricefx. I have access to all of those capabilities in here when it comes to price setting, analytics, rebates, promotions and agreements, quoting, sales compensation, and even optimization. So this is the entire suite of Pricefx. And as you can see, this is a full suite, an end-to-end platform. This is not different systems that are living in different partitions or in different websites. It's all one end-to-end solution for 360-degree visibility into profitable growth for our customers. In this particular case, I accessed my list of quotes. And this is just a list of quotes that I've been working on. Let's say that I'm a salesperson and I've been working on one of these quotes for one of my customers. I'm not going to go into the full detail of what a quote will look like or the information that will be available within a quote, but you can see here right from the start that I have a couple of very interesting pieces of information. I have a quote header that gives me a view of the summary of the value for that quote. This is because I have a list of products included in this quote. And I have this measure that tells me, hey, you're 2% below a target, and there is an impact on commission. So I'm going to see a little bit more detail in this quote. I have my customer listed in here. And if I go into the items, this is where I'm going to see all of those products that a customer is asking us to quote for them. For each one of these products, I have information related to the volume of that product, the price that the customer is is asking for. And I can see that right now I have some price guidance, the one that I was referring to earlier. So what can I do at this moment? This is just a starting point for me for a quote. I just loaded a list of products. I captured the price that the customer is asking me for, and I can see that price is below my floor price. So that's why my price quality is definitely not the best. Probably that's probably the reason why I'm below target, and there is an impact on commission. What else can I see in the system is also what will be the potential impact on my compensations. In this case, I'm getting a lower compensation because I'm actually driving a lower price for that product for that customer. So what if I use this information? What if I use that guidance that the system is providing and adjust the price to a level that I'm probably going to be feeling more comfortable from my in terms of my compensation, but also I know that this is a I'm going to know that this is a competitive price for my customer for this product in the market. So let's do that here. I'm going to go with 157 and I'm going to capture that price. And the system is going to take that, run through an analysis, and provide me with a view for how that price is going to have an impact on the value of the deal, but also on the compensation that I'm going to be getting. Right now, I can see that that new price is putting me 3% above target. The compensation is actually higher than I was getting. So I have visibility, quick visibility into how making adjustments to the prices that this customer is getting will have an impact on my commission. And at the end, also the ability to provide a better deal for my customers, but probably most importantly, a more profitable deal for our organization.
Hey,
The second
Jose,
use case,
can I
yes,
can I just interrupt you here? I think folks are not able to see the results because we can see a video. We can see you. We can see your video. So maybe if you um, actually
you're not.
remove a
Oh,
video.
you don't want to see me. I see. That's
No, well,
thank you.
yeah. Here we
Thank you
go.
for
Now we
highlighting
can
that.
see it. Sorry,
Now everything that I've said for the last 2 or 3 minutes makes sense. You
a
can see
little
that
bit.
compensation,
So
that
maybe
sales
you could
compensation right there.
show. Yeah, yeah, exactly. We were not seeing that. Sorry, but could you maybe show how you changed the prices again and how it changed the sales compensation? That would be great.
Certainly. Let's do that again. That's
Sorry,
always funny.
everyone.
I wasn't aware that my video was on top of the screen right in that section. But again,
Exactly.
you can see now that my compensation is at this level. You can still see that the quote above target is good, but I was starting at a price of $100. So let's go back to this price and see how that affects my compensation uh, uh, result in this particular quote. I'm going to see that it's actually lower than what I'm seeing right now. Now I'm in the red, 2965 for a number of units. And the nice thing about it is that it is immediate, right? It is real time. As I'm making changes on the prices that this customer is getting for these products, I can see how that compensation is going to be impacted. All right. The second thing that I wanted to highlight is as I'm building this quote as part of that price guidance, maybe I can see that there's some product recommendations. And in this case, these product recommendations is supported by our optimization capabilities as well in this form of identifying different products that customers in a similar segment or similar customers to the one that we're quoting might be buying in terms of products, services, or also based on business rules. Maybe we'll want to set up a rule that says if you buy product A, you need to bundle it with product B. Being able to bring that information to the quote itself so that I don't have to go run some analysis or ask someone else, hey, do we have an alternative product to the one that I'm quoting? Is there a cross sell or upsell opportunity? I have access to that information right here. And the system provides that information very in a very actionable way. So I can select any one of these products and add it into my quote. So this is how sales compensation looks on the front end, right? So I'm seeing in a quote how that compensation is going to have an impact, or it's going to be impacted based on the prices that we're giving our customers. Uh, but how are these plans set up? in the system. How do I say, for a certain seller, for a certain team within the sales organization, we're going to be setting up certain quotas, certain targets, and the compensation that they're going to be getting is going to look a certain way. So for that, I'm going to be transitioning over into my compensation plans. And one of the things that you're going to see here is that you're not limited to having a single compensation plan. You can have compensation plans for individual team members within your organization, group compensation plans, a combination of both. So a seller may have part of their compensation driven by individual goals as well as team goals. So in this case, I'm gonna take a look at a quick composition plan that I set up earlier, where I have my start and end dates. I have the name of the seller in here. And one of the key pieces that you're always going to have access to within Pricefx is this calculations section. This is always going to give me information that it's related to the action that I'm taking. In this case, allows me to see information related to forecasts for sales, what's going to be the potential total for compensation for this seller, and what is the target. Do we have a growth target? Do we have a flat bonus across the board? And what I'm going to be doing here is setting up those thresholds, setting up those conditions. You can think of it as if I'm building a big sculpture using Lego bricks. I can always reuse these compensation plans very effectively. And here I have an example of two types of compensations. One is a flat bonus, and another one is related to a growth percent amount for that seller. So these are the two components for the compensation plan for a particular seller within the organization. And here I can define what that quota is going to look like, what is going to be my target incentive. And in this case, I'm doing it across the board. It doesn't matter which customers, which products the seller is going to be uh, uh, um, quoting for, but maybe I want to add that as part of my compensation plan definition. So I want to say this quota and this incentive is going to be for a specific set of products and customers. So I'm going to go into my product selection screen. This gives me access to the entire product portfolio. And I want to add a specific product group within these compensation plans. So I'm going to select this electrical protection and control. And one nice thing about Pricefx is that you don't have to individually select all of the products. I can simply select the product group, category, business unit, industry, and the system will automatically identify all of the products, all of the line items that correspond to my selection. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and select electrical protection and control, select that product group, and just like that, I've been able to narrow that compensation plan to a set of products within my portfolio. And I can do the same thing from a customer perspective. I can navigate into my customer master and say, this is going to be a compensation plan for all of my customers in the US or in Europe or in Asia Pacific market, or different customer segments that we may have within our customer master. In this case, I'm going to leave it like that. So I've set up a flat bonus where there is a quota assigned to my seller. It's going to be paid quarterly. There's also going to be a part of their compensation tied to a growth measure. And in this case, I'm going to leave it blank for products and customers. And there's going to be a compensation tied to a percentage of growth. So 5% growth, there's going to be a compensation of 500. In this case, euros. We manage uh, uh, any type of currency. 10% growth is going to receive a 5,000 euro compensation as well. And I can keep adding to this structure as necessary. So as you can see, I don't have to tinker with, how do I make this work in my ERP? I just need to define the conditions, and Pricefx will take care of translating these into the necessary records in your system, so that whenever there is a new quote, a new transaction, the system will know what needs to be the real true up at the end of the quarter or the end of the exercise, so that we have a good um, uh, execution of these compensation plans and full visibility of how much has been accrued for compensations for our sellers, how much has been paid, how much is left to pay going to show that in a second in a dashboard. And again, without having to figure out what that calculation needs to look like, right? So let's take a look at one of those dashboards. And again, at the end of the day, these programs go through a workflow for approval. So there is complete auditable records of who created these plans, who approved those plans. There is the approval process can be dynamic. So depending on the conditions and the rules that have been set up in the system, these programs will go through that approval process according to those rules. So let's say
Jose,
that yes,
I I
is
just
there a
want
question?
to say to everyone that I know we're running a bit over time, but we'll be sending out the recording. So if you need to go, please go ahead, and we'll definitely gonna send you the recording after that. I think this is the most exciting part, though. So if you want to stay, please do.
Yeah, and we're probably just going to show a couple of additional pieces within the software.
Yeah.
So the next is so let's say we've set up our compensation plan. We've seen how the compensation plan will look like in a quote. But what about being able to track that information, being able to see as a seller, as part of the sales organization, what's been the performance? So I have access to dashboards that give me quick and easy access into the performance or my performance as a particular seller for a particular year. I can see that information readily available in the system. So I know all of the compensation plans that I'm a part of. As I said, we have the ability to set up individual plans, team plans, and as a seller, I can see how much of that compensation is going to be driven by a particular plan. But probably this is one that most people in the sales organization are going to be interested, which is I want to see how this breaks down, right? So for each one of those compensation plans, based on the payment period, based on the frequency, how much are we tracking? Right. So what is the total compensation that has been accrued, the baseline that is used to calculate that compensation total, how much has been paid, how much is left to be paid for each one of these quarters, for example. So having access to these information allows me as a seller not to have to go through the pains of doing all of those calculations myself. But at the same time, I can use this to request any type of adjustments as necessary. So I can drill down and see the individual transactions, or I can say, hey, for a particular set of customers, I was working with another seller. I need to make an adjustment or request an adjustment to the compensation. And as I said previously, the idea is how can I make those adjustments much more easy to manage? In this case, I have a request for a split credit, and I created it just by indicating the particular seller that I was working with. And the system will identify all of the transactions, all of the customer, all of the products that seller was responsible for. And all I need to do is specify the adjustment type. In this case, I'm splitting the credit and I'm saying, hey, I participated with Angelina. She did most of the work, but I also collaborated in those deals. So there's going to be an 80-20 percentage split. Maybe we also work with, Camille, and we're going to be doing 70-20-10. So I can just like that make an adjustment on the percentage, submit this request for an adjustment, get it approved, and the system will make the necessary changes in the compensation payout records for each one of these sellers. So that's a quick run into what sales compensation looks like in Pricefx. There's definitely much more that we can share with all of you. I think we're going to transition into a very, very quick Q&A for anyone that's still on the webinar and that may have questions or anything that the team may want to cover, as well as a final message from Pascal.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jose. I think this was really great. We managed to cover everything we needed. I don't know if you could just share the screen or share the presentation again, Jose. I just have 2 slides there that I want to show to everyone. Perfect. So yeah, if you have any questions, just put it into the question box or in the chat box. And if not, then I have shared here a link So you see it on the screen as well. There's a landing page or a website, whatever you want to call it, where we talk about sales compensation. Pretty much everything that we talked about today is there. So I also put it in the chat box. You can go there, find out more information. If you're interested, contact your customer success manager at Pricefx. But you can also reach out to me or Jose or Peter, and we can help you out with that. The next slide is also quite important. I wanted to highlight this to everyone. We have a customer event happening in Munich, actually, on the 14th and 15th of September. It's our Accelerate event, and it's probably the biggest pricing event. So if you wanted to register, again, you can reach out to your customer success manager, and there's I'll share a link as well with all of you after the webinar. So you'll receive an email with a recording of the webinar and a link to register for Accelerate. I have a question from Tuktu. We do have a price list per customer, not at the company level. Does it make setting this up harder by design, or it doesn't matter much?
I can take that, and
Yeah.
it doesn't make it harder. To set up these compensation plans. Price setting can be done at a global level, local level, or customer specific pricing. So what's the only thing that's going to change is that whenever setting up a quote, whenever setting up an agreement for a customer or a deal for a customer, the system knows that there is a price list that's specific for that customer. So it doesn't really affect the setting up the compensation plan. The system is able to identify that that customer is going to have a specific price list to be used.
Thank you, Jose. And one more question is if sales compensation is actually can only work with quoting, or if it's a separate solution. Is that something maybe Peter you can answer?
I can take that one definitely. So no, it's basically a standalone capability of Pricefx and completely able to work on its own. If you want to use Pricefx as only sales compensation management tool, you are welcome to do so. On the other hand, you would be missing on what we just presented, right? So we would definitely encourage you to use the suite to the fullest, and our integration with quotes is what we like to highlight.
Great. And I think that's it for today in terms of questions. I'm going to also, the one thing that I forgot to say, but in the follow-up email, I'll be sending you guys a survey to give us feedback on this webinar. We want to do more of these product webinars, and we want to get your feedback. So if you could share your feedback on that, and hopefully we'll do more of these. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you, Jose, for your time. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Have a great rest of the day or evening, wherever you are.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.